Fernando Alonso, a name that echoes through the halls of motorsport history, defining excellence across more than 20 years behind the wheel. From his groundbreaking pole position in Malaysia to going toe-to-toe with the best even in his 40s. Alonso's career is a masterclass in talent, tenacity, and sheer will. For many, he's not just a great driver. He's the most complete driver of his era, a man who can pull miracles from machines others might write off. Let's rewind to Suzuka, 2005. Alonso, already crowned world champion that season, wasn't in the mood to relax. He had a statement to make, and who better to make it against than Michael Schumacher, the icon who had long reigned supreme over Formula One? It was lap 19. As they approached the fearsome 130R, a corner infamous for its speed and risk, often taken at over 250 kilometers per hour, Alonso lined up a move that demanded nerves of steel. Only the bravest dare challenge here, and Alonso was ready to prove exactly what he was made of. What followed was breathtaking. Alonso swept around the outside of Schumacher, a bold, fearless pass requiring razor-sharp accuracy and total confidence. Schumacher, ever the sportsman, gave him just enough space. In that instant, it felt like a symbolic moment, the old guard nodding to the rise of a new king. Alonso himself once joked about that move, saying, "I knew he'd break. He has a wife and 2 kids." Beneath the humor was the truth. Alonso dared to go where few would, and the magic didn't stop there. Fast forward to the 2011 Spanish Grand Prix. Starting from 4th on the grid, with the Red Bulls clearly the dominant force, Alonso was not content to play it safe. He was out to disrupt the order, to challenge the expected, and once again remind the world of his relentless spirit. You wouldn't expect him to go for it around the outside, it's surely not there. But Fernando Alonso doesn't follow scripts. As they approached turn 10, he switched tactics in an instant, darting to the inside and pulling off a sensational move. Hamilton had made a tiny mistake and barely a flicker, but Alonso needed no second invitation. He capitalized with a bold and clinical overtake that had fans holding their breath. It was fearless. It was precise. It was pure Alonso. To Hamilton's credit, he gave just enough space. It was respect, one legend acknowledging another. As Alonso powered away, leaving the Mercedes in his wake, it was clear age had done nothing to dull the blade. This was no farewell tour. This was a statement from a man still writing chapters in his legacy. And if bravery had a name, it was Alonso at the 2006 Hungarian Grand Prix. Starting 15th on a soaked under the scorching sun at Budapest in 2003. In his distinctive blue and yellow Renault, he sat on pole for the first time. This wasn't just any race. It was his chance to make history. As the lights went out, Alonso launched cleanly. Chaos erupted behind him, but he was untouched, already pulling away from Mark Webber in the Jaguar. His car, seemingly glued to the track, moved with such grace and only took the checkered flag. He became the youngest winner in Formula One history. A legend was born. Then came Imola, 2005, the duel that would define a generation. Alonso versus Schumacher, youth versus legacy. With the great German breathing down his neck, Alonso had to be flawless. Lap after lap, Schumacher attacked, searching for even the smallest opening. But Alonso was untouchable. Defensive masterclass after masterclass, he held the inside, covered every line, and absorbed wave after wave of pressure. The fans roared, the tension mounted, and when the checkered flag fell, Alonso had done it. He crossed the line just ahead, exhausted but victorious. It wasn't just about points. It was about proving he could go head-to-head with the greatest and win. And then came Brazil, 2005. The moment everything changed. With the title on the line, Alonso stood tall. Starting from pole, he faced constant threats from the McLaren duo, but he was unfazed. He drove with poise beyond his years, keeping his composure even as Montoya and Raikkonen hounded him. Third place was enough. And when he crossed the line, history was made. Fernando Alonso, the youngest world champion in Formula One history. As he stood on the podium, Spanish flag draped around his shoulders, the emotion overwhelmed him. Tears fell. Tears of joy, relief, triumph. For one glorious moment, the entire paddock united in applause. The boy from Oviedo had climbed the mountain, and he wasn't done yet. Wait, hold on. Did you know that 99% of you watching right now aren't subscribed? If you enjoy my content and want to see more, please hit that subscribe button. It takes just a second, but it means the world to me and helps keep this channel going. Join the family and let's grow together. Now back to the story. Chaos began on lap 1. In Baku 2018, Fernando Alonso's McLaren was mauled in a first lap melee. 2 punctured tires, bodywork shredded, the car barely drivable. It looked more like wreckage than a racing machine. But Alonso, he wasn't finished, not even close. Dragging the battered McLaren back to the pits on pure instinct and grit, the car sparking and limping like a wounded animal, he somehow returned to the track. The mechanics did what they could, but what rolled out again was still a wreck. Most drivers would have called it a day. Alonso turned it into a mission. Lap after lap, he fought that wrecked machine like a man possessed, wrestling the wheel, throwing it into corners, chasing every ounce of pace. And in the end, incredibly, he finished 7th, ahead of his teammate in a healthy car. It was a moment of sheer defiance, one that screamed, "I'm still here, I still matter." Baku 2018 wasn't just another race. It was a reminder that champions aren't defined by perfect cars, but by relentless heart. And then there was Le Mans. Most thought Alonso was mad to attempt it. Formula One drivers don't just wander into endurance racing and win, but Alonso did. In 2018, under the floodlights and through the long, lonely night, he didn't just survive, he dominated. While others faded, he found pace. Lap after lap, he delivered stints so fast, even seasoned veterans stood in awe. His teammates, Sebastian Buemi and Kazuki Nakajima, watched the magic unfold. Then, in 2019, he did it again. 2 starts, 2 wins, back-to-back Le Mans triumphs. And while the Toyota cars were dominant, it was Alonso's number 8 that claimed victory after the sister car faltered in the final hour. Call it lucky if you want, but no one lucks into winning Le Mans twice. Remember, this was all while driving uncompetitive machinery in F1. Where others saw setbacks, Alonso carved out a legacy. He didn't just add trophies, he rewrote what was possible. When Alonso arrived at Ferrari in 2010, few expected instant success. But the season opener in Bahrain told a different story. Sebastian Vettel and Red Bull had looked untouchable all weekend. Pole position, race lead, control. But Alonso, starting 3rd, muscled past his teammate Massa at the start and hunted Vettel down. For 34 laps, the Red Bull led until disaster struck. A spark plug failed. The engine note dipped. And Alonso, ever the opportunist, pounced. He seized the lead and never looked back. It wasn't just a debut win. It was a warning. Ferrari had signed a warrior, and the paddock knew it. Then came the 2017 Indy 500. While others headed to Monaco, Alonso shocked the world by skipping it. He had unfinished business elsewhere, in America. What began as a half-serious dinner conversation with McLaren boss Zak Brown quickly turned into a daring reality. He trained, he learned, he adapted. And when qualifying came, Alonso stunned everyone by planting it 5th on the grid, ahead of veterans with years of oval experience. Race day? He wasn't just competing, he was leading. For 27 laps, Fernando Alonso led the Indy 500. Then, heartbreak. With just 21 laps remaining, his Honda engine gave out. The ghost of McLaren Honda followed him even here. But it didn't matter. The American fans had seen it. The talent, the humility, the brilliance. Alonso didn't need the win to make his point. He had already captured their hearts. And then Brazil 2012, Interlagos, one of the most dramatic finales in Formula One history. Alonso arrived 13 points adrift of Vettel. He needed everything to go his way. And for a brief, glorious moment, it nearly did. As rain slicked the circuit, chaos struck. Vettel was spun around at turn 4 by Bruno Senna, his Red Bull damaged, dead last. Suddenly, the door cracked open. Alonso, now on the charge, danced through the danger. At lightning speeds, through the Curva do Sol, he hit a puddle at over 150 miles per hour. The Ferrari snapped sideways, destined for disaster, but Alonso's hands worked the wheel like a magician. No panic, just perfect control. He saved the car with millimetric precision, barely lifting the throttle. The onboard footage said it all. Hands like a pianist, instincts like a predator. Though Vettel recovered and the title slipped away, that drive, that day, captured the essence of Alonso. Not just a driver, a force of nature. Alonso fought like a man possessed. As the rain returned to Interlagos, chaos erupted once more. But he remained calm, clinical. While others hesitated, Alonso read the track like a map he'd memorized years ago. Wet patches, slick curves, dry lines disappearing lap by lap. And yet, lap after lap, he gained ground. He made the right calls, took the right risks, and for a few breathtaking minutes, he was world champion. With Vettel languishing in the midfield, it looked possible. No, it looked destined. Fernando Alonso, against all odds, might just pull it off. But destiny can be cruel. Vettel clawed his way back, scraped his damaged Red Bull into 6th place. Just enough. 3 points. That was the final margin. 3 points between heartbreak and history. Alonso finished 2nd in the race, and 2nd in the championship. Again. Red Bull celebrated, Vettel lifted the trophy. But in the hearts of millions watching, there was only one true champion that day. If Interlagos broke hearts, Valencia 2012 rebuilt them. No one expected a miracle that day. Alonso started 11th on the grid at his home Grand Prix. On a street circuit notorious for shutting down overtaking, it should have been a quiet, uneventful afternoon. But Alonso had other ideas. From the first lap, he attacked, slicing through the midfield like a scalpel. By the end of lap 1, he was 8th, then 7th, then 6th. Every move was pure aggression, pure artistry. This was vintage Fernando. When Sebastian Vettel's Red Bull faltered while leading, Alonso surged to the front, and Valencia erupted. The crowd, electric. The emotion, overwhelming. As he crossed the finish line, it was more than a win. It was a spiritual moment for Spain. He stopped the car, climbed out, and stood on top, arms outstretched, the Spanish flag draped across his shoulders. The grandstands became a sea of red and yellow. Tears rolled down his face. He wasn't just a winner, he was a hero. But before the titles, before the glory, there was Malaysia 2003. At just 21 years old, Fernando Alonso stunned the paddock by putting his Renault on pole, the youngest pole sitter in Formula One history at the time. No one saw it coming. Not Michael Schumacher, not Kimi Räikkönen, not even his own teammate Jarno Trulli. On race day, he led for the first time. Calm, poised, fearless. While Räikkönen would go on to win, Alonso claimed his maiden podium, a brilliant 3rd place, and left the world in no doubt. This was no prospect, no future star. This was a phenomenon. And then came Qatar, 2021. 7 long years. That's how long Fernando Alonso had waited to return to the podium. 7 years of underperforming cars, political turmoil, missed opportunities. But under the lights in Qatar, the fire still burned. In a midfield Alpine, he qualified 3rd. And when the race began, he rolled back the years. His tire management was masterful, his lines razor sharp. Behind him, Sergio Perez, in a far superior Red Bull, then gave chase. But Alonso was untouchable. Calm on the radio, precise on track. Vintage Nando. As he crossed the finish line in 3rd place, the cheers echoed not just across the circuit, but through time. From the echoes of 2005 and 2006. From every heartbreak and every comeback. He smiled on the podium. Not a smile of relief, but a vindication. He was back. He had never left. It wasn't just a podium. It was vindication. Fernando Alonso, back on the podium in Formula One after a 2-year absence, at 40 years old, in a midfield car. And in doing so, he silenced every critic who questioned if he still had it. Qatar 2021 wasn't a farewell tour. It was a statement. I never left. The 2007 European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring? Chaos. Torrential rain turned the first corner into an ice rink. Car after car slid off. A spiker just briefly led the race. The red flag waved. But what fans still talk about nearly 2 decades later isn't the rain. It's what came after, the duel. Alonso versus Massa. With the clock ticking down and the track drying, Alonso in the McLaren was flying. He closed in on Massa's Ferrari with relentless pace. On lap 55, he made his move, diving down the inside into turn 1. Massa, never one to yield, slammed the door shut. The two cars touched once, then again. Sparks flew, no quarter given, no inch spared. This wasn't racing, this was combat. But Alonso, precise, fearless, unstoppable, emerged ahead. He held the lead and took the checkered flag in one of the most thrilling finishes of the season. And it didn't end there. Tempers boiled over in Parc Fermé. Alonso accused Massa of dirty tactics. Massa fired back, finger pointing, sharp words in the corridor to the podium. It was messy, emotional, raw. This was Formula One at its most human. Victory, passion, and the fire of true competition. Fast forward to Baku 2023, a street circuit of chaos, blind corners, tight castle sections, walls that punish even the smallest mistake. After a late safety car, Fernando Alonso was tucked behind Carlos Sainz's Ferrari. Most drivers would settle in, get tire temps back up, and wait for the DRS zones. But Alonso isn't most drivers. As the race restarted, he didn't take the conventional line. While others focused on traction, tire temps, and telemetry, Fernando saw an opportunity. He adjusted his steering angle through turn 1 in a way that almost no one else would dare, maximizing grip without scrubbing speed. Sainz missed the apex by a fraction. That was all Alonso needed. With perfect timing, he dived. Bold, clean, ruthless. The Ferrari had no answer. It was a masterclass in racecraft, a reminder that Alonso doesn't need the fastest car to do something extraordinary. He just needs a gap, a moment, a chance. He spotted a tiny gap up the inside of Sainz, right in the middle sector's tight and technical section, a place where overtaking is rarely attempted. But Fernando Alonso saw his chance. Alonso on the inside of Sainz? That's opportunistic. Brilliant from Alonso, a phenomenal move. Without hesitation, he committed, diving into the narrowest of openings with surgical precision. It was the kind of gap most drivers wouldn't even consider a passing opportunity. But Alonso isn't most drivers. He saw it, executed it flawlessly, and caught Sainz completely off guard. If you want to understand why Alonso is considered one of the best starters in Formula One history, look no further than Monza 2011. He started 4th on the grid. Ahead of him, Vettel and both McLarens, all faster cars that weekend. But when the lights went out, Alonso's Ferrari launched like it had a rocket strapped to the back. By the time they hit the braking zone for the first chicane, Alonso had jumped all 3 cars ahead of him. Plenty of space on the right-hand side. The wall was coming closer, but he kept his foot planted. No hesitation, no fear. The Tifosi went absolutely wild. The Scarlet Ferrari leading at Monza, it was magic. Vettel would eventually retake the lead and win the race. But that start, it showed what makes Alonso special. In a car that wasn't the fastest, he found an edge no one else saw. Now fast forward to 2023, the São Paulo Grand Prix. What happened to the final laps was everything racing should be. Fernando Alonso and his Aston Martin defending 3rd place from a charging Sergio Perez in a much faster Red Bull. On paper, it was a mismatch. The Red Bull had been dominant all season. Perez had DRS, but Alonso, at 42 years old, wasn't about to hand over a podium without the fight of his life. Lap after lap, Perez tried everything. Dive bombs into turn 1, switchbacks through the Senna S, late braking into turn 4, and every single time, Alonso had an answer. Perfectly placed, impossibly calm. Then, on the penultimate lap, Perez finally got through into turn 1. Most drivers would have accepted defeat, but not Alonso. He stayed close through the middle sector. And when Perez made a tiny mistake at turn 1 on the final lap, missing the apex by just 1 meter, Alonso pounced. Into turn 4, he dived back inside and reclaimed the position. They crossed the line separated by just 0.053 seconds. Alonso, by barely a car length, took the podium. It's going to be Fernando Alonso across the line. He gets close. But he's done it. But what happened next was even more remarkable. No bitterness, no controversy. Perez walked over, hand on shoulder, both men smiling, sharing a moment of pure respect. 20 years of magic moments. And still, Alonso races on. Still hungry, still brilliant. His career stands as a testament to pure racing spirit. That rare kind of driver who transcends stats and machinery. Whatever car he's in, wherever he races, Fernando Alonso remains what he's always been, a relentless force of nature on four wheels. Comments below. And once you're done, don't forget to click on the video that's popping up on your screen right now. And don't forget to subscribe my channel.